Thank you for tuning in to the Peoplz and Dragons. If you enjoy the content we provide, then subscribe, like, and maybe join in on the action at www.pndrpg.com. Haven City, an ugly city. Episode 8, Act II, Serenity. From darkness we descend into a tomb in an unknown location. The sound of low sobbing and frustrated murmuring can be heard echoing throughout the halls of the resting dead. We move through the corridors toward a faint green glow, and we see Ivan Bakara kneeling before a sarcophagus.
Oh, Mama. I was oh so close, Mama. I had it in my hands. I reckon he was a dead man, but his head was still talking. Shenanigans, Mama. I know now, though. Huh? Say what now? Oh, yes, of course, Mama.
Ivan exhales and waves his hand over the dead flowers strewn upon his mother's burial, using his animancy to fill the flowers with the souls of lowly men and women in the area, thus bringing the flowers back into full bloom, something that hasn't been tended to in hundreds of years since the last time Ivan visited his mother's burial. Ivan lowers his head as if listening for a sound unheard. He then looks up and nods in agreement and walks over to an engraving on the sarcophagus that reads, Rose, and he gives it a small peck. Ivan suddenly senses a mighty and powerful presence appear in the abyssal realm as he turns his head sharply and grins.
Ah, mother's intuition, hot damn!
Ivan hastily departs. We see a young Makai Funoichi standing before his father, Nagin, receiving a lecture on the bridge of a grand roaring dragon airship. Nagin puts his hand on Makai's head. Do not show weakness. The moment you let your guard down, the world will devour you, Makai. Young Makai nods before everything fades to black. We see a ruined soul form of a betrayed and broken Makai Funoichi, on his knees, slouched over, melting in his own demise. Weighed down by disappointment and failure, he sits motionless deep down in the depths of the abyssal realm. The glow of what once was his blue and black chi is now a faint beacon in the middle of a killing field, as large menacing abyssal predators approach and circle around him, hesitant to bite. Makai senses them but is too deep in despair to worry. Makai, feeling undeserving of his father's black chi, begins questioning himself. After your death, Father, I have become sloppy, ignoring everything you've ever taught me. If I had but one more chance to correct my mistakes, I would give anything. It's okay, son. The voice of his father emerges as Makai looks up and sees Nagin Funoichi with his hand out. Makai, shocked to see his father here with him in his afterlife, struggles to get to his feet when suddenly an abyssal beast leaps out of the darkness at Makai, but is promptly halted in midair and sucked into Ivan's milky eye. Makai crawls backward from the cold and unknown presence that is Ivan Bakara creeping toward him. A to thee grin manifests beneath his salt and peppery beard.
This ain't your pa, stranger. This is Jeff. He's just in your papa's body playing a little joke on you is all.
Jeff smiles, one side of his mouth left droopy from the poison.
Did I hear you say anything?
Spirit Mackay stands up to his feet to face Ivan. Ivan continues taking steps forward, his ghostly visage fading in and out of this plane, sort of gliding as his chains rattle.
See how friends do you? I'm more of a family man myself, but hell, all I got is mama.
Ivan points his thumb back at an almost invisible presence looming over him. Mackay asks, "Who are you?"
I always been jealous of the ones like you. All tight and whatnot. I've been to your place,
Ivan says, while unwrapping the chains from around his gauntlet as 30 to 40 undead roaring dragon and blood-vein ninja thralls appear out of nowhere surrounding Mackay and Ivan.
I know who you are. All that wealth, fancy art, plush beds and your women, but as you can see, you can't take none of that with you. No.
Ivan throws his chains around Mackay as they snake around his neck and with sentience forces him down to his knee.
I might be able to give you what you want, stranger, but I want what you got.
Vengeance builds in Mackay's heart as he clenches his fist. You have my word that whoever allies with me shall reign supreme beside me. Let us make an unbreakable bond now, and I want
what you got. You got any room for some more in that family of yours, Mackay?
Ivan grins maniacally. Mackay, silent, submits and agrees to Ivan's contract, so long as my family is safe. Ivan spreads his arms out toward the undead roaring dragons.
Safe?
Ivan pats himself down, checking for wounds.
I feel safe. Do y'all feel safe?
Ivan asks the undead. They say nothing. Mackay asks, so how does this work? Ivan loosens the chains from Mackay, then untethers them from him completely as they sliver back up into Ivan's coat, then around his gauntlets. Ivan reveals to Mackay that his spiritual self has also been destroyed and that he is only existing by a strand. Not only that, but the remainder of himself is deeply stained with negative energy from R-Type's Iblis judgment. Ivan leans to the side and shoots the abyssal beast out of his eye and then kicks it out into the darkness.
If my baby would have ate you, she would have been poisoned.
Ivan tells him that he's going to need what he likes to call an absolved corpse, a body filled with the blessings of others. Mackay immediately thinks of his Nibu ancestors and suggests them. We see Ivan glance over at a particular undead clansman who nods at Ivan in confirmation. Mackay follows Ivan's glare and also turns to the clansman. The clansman looks at Mackay briefly, then lowers his head in shame. Ivan smiles and tells Mackay that he knows exactly where that is, and he and Ivan fade out of the abyssal realm and directly into an ancient Nibu tomb overseas. The tomb of Shinohono. Mackay looks up and around at the splendor of the ancestral tomb and the idols of the 8 great beasts of the 8-beast gram. Mackay tells Ivan to wait outside as he prepares the ritual. We cut to Impact, Nova, Monty, and Walton and the remainder of the Roaring Dragon clan all around a massive table. They appear to be in deep thought with maps and data sprawled across the table as they prepare to counterattack the Gate Center for their betrayal when suddenly Ray Lagarians crash through the roof, windows, and all entrances into the clan headquarters as a giant ship can be heard hovering over the establishment. Ray Lagarian soldiers wielding power rifles hold all of the clansmen at gunpoint. A soldier rams Impact into the wall because she's resisting when Impact swings around and throws a right hook into the soldier's helmet, spinning it around, breaking his neck and sending him flying into the next room. The soldiers immediately roast her with orange beams that burn straight through her body, cauterizing the entry and exit wounds and setting her clothes on fire, dead. Bursting through the front doors, we see a woman in high-end business attire, her ebony skin glistening in the heat of business and boss moves. Ray Lagarian, CFO, CEO, and global singing superstar, all that jazz, and her 8-year-old daughter, rising Gamma Tube star Ali of Ali's World. A flood of lawyers, local law enforcement, Raylagarian soldiers, and various Tharkinia Force Global staff members entered the building, adhering to the barrage of orders All That Jazz is dishing out, taking no breaths. She, for one, is not happy to be here in Haven City, let alone this pathetic excuse of a corporation, Funaichi Inc. It would never amount to that of the works she has orchestrated as business head of the Raylagarian nation and more legitimate multinational corporations. She doesn't understand why her wandering king would request her to take over this company when Atlas Corp just merged with the Gate Center. In 30 minutes flat, All That Jazz has seized all assets, projects, properties, lands, investments, titles, stocks, wealth, tech, vehicles, and weapon labs of Funaichi Inc. Ali runs up to Old Man Walton Jackstad, the oldest clansman and one half of the Mage brothers, being held at gunpoint by a Raylagarian soldier. She pulls her phone out to record and points it at his busted shoes and goes, "Boy, what are those?" We zoom in on Walton Jackstad's shoes, and they indeed look crazy. They look pretty bad. All the Raylagarian guards begin laughing, including her mother. All That Jazz's live stream shoots up to millions of active viewers, breaking the record made by Tempest's Haven BO Street Magic special. We cut to various viewers all around the world watching Ali's world. Children, young and old, even a Survey Day cultist watching during a ritual, holding in laughter from the clansmen's busted-ass bobos. An advisor taps All That Jazz on the shoulder and says, "Ma'am, we will have a connection in just a moment," as she hands her a headset. We cut to R-Type X standing on a tall building overlooking the Gate Center from a far distance. In his arm, the body of Makai, and in his other hand, Makai's family sword. R-Type X absorbs the little, useless energy left from Makai's destroyed Energize suit, then cuts off Makai's head with Makai's father's sword. Makai's body plops onto the ground and then is destroyed by a quick energy pulse released from R-Type's palm. R-Type X considers absorbing the black organ he collected from the ritual G-Type, but Libra suggests that there is little benefit to this strategy of improving and would likely make him sick, and so he stows it away and begins to stare into the light in the sky, its energy signature becoming more and more large. A Raylagarian copter arrives, landing next to R-Type X. A soldier approaches carrying a steel case with a large anarchy symbol on it, as well as a phone. After giving R-Type X a royal greeting, the soldier hands R-Type X the case and the phone. All That Jazz sighs heavily on the other line as R-Type X listens. "Have you eaten yet?" she asks. R-Type doesn't say anything. "Figures. I've already sent at least 5 meal choices. Your tastes have obviously changed since you've been in this wretched city. I had coffee the other day and my spoon stood up in it. Disgusting." It's been years since they seen or spoke to the Wandering King, but these two always seem to be able to pick up right where they left off. All That Jazz usually makes the onlookers cringe in fear for her, the way she casually addresses King R-Type. However, these two have history. The young and cute Ali shouts in the background, "Boy, what are you doing there, man?" All That Jazz signals to her daughter to quiet down while she's on the phone. Ali dances out of the way. R-Type X, staring at the sky, asks, "Is it done?" She informs R-Type X that Funaichi Inc. has been seized, and now they're just cleaning up. She spots one of Makai's women, shoots her a look, and tells one of the soldiers to burn the beds. She then asks R-Type if he found what he was looking for yet. R-Type says nothing. She then goes, "Okay, sir, we'll get right back to work." R-Type replies, telling her to see that Makai's daughter is safe, and then thanks All That Jazz for her swift diligence. All That Jazz hands the phone to her assistant and begins shouting, "Today, people!" She then asks her assistant where the child's room is, and they point her down the hall. All That Jazz heads down the corridor and enters the room to see Ivan Bakara standing by the baby carriage with Serenity in his arms, making faces and referring to himself as Uncle Ivan as she begins to cry. Beside him are undead ninja clansmen holding Ali hostage. Ivan looks over to all that jazz and laughs.
Girlie, I think you are in trouble.
We cut to the outside of Funaichi Inc. as all of the building's furniture, resources, and equipment are being loaded onto hundreds of trucks. A Raylagarian soldier tosses one last computer monitor into the vehicle when his attention is caught by something in the sky. A massive chi dragon covered in blazing purple fire comes rolling over the clouds and toward the building. On its back, we see a muscular, fit and chiseled Dorinthian adorned in decorated ancestral Nibu armor. At first glance, and any Roaring Dragon clansman would tell you that was Tatsuya Funaichi, the Beast King and supreme beholder of the 8-gram Shino no Hono, a power that harnesses the god beast, in which Tatsuya has all of them. However, this was not Tatsuya, but just his preserved vessel, which is capable of sanctifying Makai's tainted and corrupt soul. The dragon hits the ground, creating a massive crater and gust of wind blowing everyone back. Before Makai even moves, Raylagarian forces begin firing their rifles, but Makai's raging dark purple chi eats up all incoming projectiles. Makai slowly gets off of his dragon and begins walking toward his home. All plant life and animals begin dying from the flames of cold purple chi. His dragon takes to the air and becomes a menace by spewing gouts of flame at the Raylagarian airships and plucking them out of the sky with its tail. A brave Raylagarian soldier runs up to Makai, but Makai catches his fist and whips the entire man's body like a bath towel, breaking all the bones in his body, then slightly lobs him up and kicks him, sending him flying through another building's 5th-story window. The rest of the Raylagarian forces begin to retreat, but the dragon deads all of that and cleans up the remaining vehicles and some of the soldiers. Makai reaches the front door of his headquarters when we see Ivan Bakara kick all that jazz in the back, sending her flying out of the building and onto the ground in front of undead Makai. Ivan then tosses out Ali out after her with one hand, sending her rolling into her mother. Behind Ivan, we see his undead clan come from behind, in addition to the rest of the clan members, who all walk out of the building with slit throats, but on their feet nonetheless. Makai sees Impact and Nova with dead eyes, their necks dripping with fresh, warm blood, but they stand ready and awaiting orders. Makai shouts at Ivan, "I said safe!" Ivan yells back,
"This is safe, doggone it. Y'all's family now. That makes you safe. Safe for me, at least."
Makai begins to think about what he's done, but when he looks down at all that jazz, he's glad that he's done it. We cut to Ivan orchestrating his new bolstered ranks of clansmen. Ivan assigns all the undead Roaring Dragon clansmen, including Makai's stronger generals Nova, Impact, and the Mage Brothers, to serve Makai, reuniting them with his people once again. Ivan even allows their original souls to inhabit their original bodies as requested by Makai. Ivan leaves himself with the Bloodvein Ninja, including the powerful undead Pargygus, and uses the remainder of Funaichi Inc.'s wealth that wasn't seized by Thrakenia Force Global to fund several small and low-key satellite gangs all over parts of Haven, all under different names, for the purpose of bringing in G-type recruits of various talent and expand an ear to the street. Ivan trains them in ninjutsu and arms them with cutting-edge Funaichi technology. Wealth and fear will keep those exterior factions on board until they prove their loyalty beyond all doubt and reach the inner circle, reporting to Ivan and Makai directly as leaders of their respective factions. We cut to Makai holding his daughter in the arms of his much larger and taller new body. Serenity senses Makai and they instantly reconnect. Makai is grateful for this, as Serenity is his only source of life that he has right now. Thanks for watching Peoplz and Dragons, the interactive RPG game show. I encourage everyone to jump into our comment section to participate in the lore contests, as well as visit our Patreon page to learn what perks come with your support for our machine. Peace.